What's up, guys? No script, no nothing, one take only. So I'm not going to be here this weekend. I am not there. I'm off camping by the time you guys see this. A little birthday weekend thing for me, my friends did, so didn't want to miss out with them. So one of the things I've been wanting to talk about for a few weeks now is hardware, because with the Cub and everything, a lot of our hardware is rusty or old. It's going to look good when we replace it. So aviation hardware is not like hardware store hardware. It's different. It has to be special. It's manufactured differently. It costs a bit more. Not too much. It's manageable, but it's a lot more than hardware store hardware. I think one of the things we're going to want to start doing now is we're going to want to start making like a shopping list for the Cub. So, crash course. Now, you might want to pull up, we might have some reference books in there. You might want one of those for a little bit of help. I might try finding some sheets. You can, of course, Google all this stuff. But quick crash course. So, screws. There are two different kinds of screws, and they're machine and sheet metal. So, sheet metal screws are sharp and... Can you guys see that? Maybe? They're kind of sharp and pointy, just like that. And a machine screw has many threads. See, these little things that poke out, they're called threads. So we got very few threads on the sheet metal screw and lots of them on the machine screw. Can you guys? Maybe? I don't know. Anyways. And in aviation, they come in three major sizes. We have a 6, an 8, and a 10. So the 6, here, let me move the camera real quick. So the 6 is going to be our little small screw. And the 8 is going to be our medium-sized screw. And the 10 is the Big Daddy screw. There's a big old screw right there. So 6, 8, 10. And if you guys notice, these are machine screws. And the same thing happens with sheet metal screws. Oh, they're rolling around. We have a 6, an 8, and a 10. So machine, sheet metal, 6, 8, 10. You can see the differences there. Sorry. We'll go back on center now. So, those are our most common sizes. One of the things I'm going to send you guys is... Let's see if this works. I haven't tried this yet. So I have the number 6 machine, and on here, see the hole that says 6 right there? It should. There we go. There we go. It fits in. It fits in there. It's a little loose, but it fits in just fine. Let's see about the 8. So I have the 8, and the hole that says 8. It fits in the hole that says 8. Now you can kind of try putting it in the hole that says 6. It kind of fits in, but it fits best in the hole 8. And then same thing goes for the number 10. Doesn't fit in the 6 or the 8, but it does fit in the number 10. Actually, I didn't even know this had the 6, 8, and 10 on it. So that works out really well for us. Yeah. So, almost done with screws. There are two main types of screws. I got them here for you. So these are number 10 screws. And you see how this is our number 10 machine, which we've seen a few times now. And that has a round head. This one, you'll see, has a flat head. We don't call them flatheads, we call them countersunk. And I'll be able to show you one of these days. I'm sure Jamie or Mr. Hughes could probably point it out for you, but this one with the flat, kind of weird looking head, UFO head, countersunk, and we're just going to call it a round head. There's a fancy name for it, but we'll call it a round head. We'll call this countersunk head. Jamie or Mr. Hughes or Mr. Steve or anyone's there, please correct me. So that's about enough for our screws. Maybe I'll make y'all a little picture. Check the reference book. Of course, you can find this stuff online. Kind of similar to screws. We have bolts. Bolts are really important. You got to be using the right kind of bolts. They can be subject to all these different kinds of loads and stuff, and God forbid a crack or anything could be bad. People have died from it, unfortunately. That's why I make sure to use the right stuff. This stuff is tested. I could go through and I have a whole, because I do our parts and stuff, I have a whole folder. For a single bolt, there's 8 pages of paperwork that'll go with it. For the most part. There's a lot of research and stuff, and they test them to make sure they work well. So they're called AN bolts. The bolts we're mostly going to be using is called AN bolts. And for that, I have this thing called a AN bolt gauge. I'll say AN bolt gauge. And you'll see, I promise you, it's a little bit easier to use than it looks. So on the bottom, we have AN3, AN4, AN5, and so on. That's how wide our bolt is. So, for example, I have a bolt here, and you'll see in the little channels here, it looks like it could be, oh, that one's too big for it. That one's too big for it. That one fits pretty well, but let's see. It doesn't fit in there. So I know it goes in this channel, and when I lay it in there, I'm gonna follow it down, AN4. So it's an AN4 bolt. I'll get another bolt. So that's nice. We're in a parts room. It works well. So here we go. Here's another bolt. Same deal. We go in. It's kind of like it's on the smaller side. We're gonna want to. Too big. Fits about right in there. It's about as small as we get. We put it in there, and we see it's an AN3 bolt. Not too bad. So when we let it rest in there, we'll notice something else. See all the tick marks that go down? See how it goes to about the 13? That means it's an AN3-13 bolt. I'll show you. I don't know if it shows it backwards or not, but you'll see AN3-blank. You'll notice there's an A there. I'll get to that. Let's do one more example of how we measure the diameter and width. So I have another bolt. And most of the bolts we're going to use on the cover are going to be AN3s, 4s, or 5s. Mostly the 3s and 4s. Let's do it again. So a little big there. A little big there. Fits pretty good there. Doesn't fit there. So it has to be this one. We set it in there. It's an AN4. If we look closely, it goes to the line that says 10. See that? This is an AN4-10 bolt. So, like I said, hopefully you'll have a book or reference to follow along with. But this is a pretty handy tool. Every mechanic should have one of these. So, one last thing about bolts is on the end of them, and if some of you guys are familiar with cotter keys, and I know we had to work a little bit with them, cotter keys, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, I promise. But some bolts have a little hole at the bottom. See how this one has a little hole? That's not really focusing too well. And this one doesn't. See when you see them together. So if it has a hole, it's just a, we'll say AN4-10. But if there's no hole, we add an A to it. See? That's where that A comes from. A means no hole. If you look, for example, AN3, there's no A. That means there's a hole in it. Same thing with the, see, AN4, AN4A. The 4 A's are the ones with no hole in them. And we use that. It kind of depends. Use them about equal. One last thing, well actually, 2 last things. We have these things, nuts in aviation, lock nuts. We'll get into them, but most of the nuts we use on the other side of screws and stuff are lock nuts. And there's 2 main types of lock nuts. We have there we go. Sorry if it gets noisy. So you see this one with a little piece of plastic in the end of it? That is a fiber lock nut. We call that a fiber lock nut. It's a little piece of plastic fiber in there. This one, see, it's just pure metal. There's no piece of plastic in there. That's a metal lock nut. Fiber has the fiber plastic. Metal, no fiber. Fiber, metal. Both lock nuts. So, washers. Quite convenient. We're in parts room. Washers get a little complicated. So, right there we have a thick washer and a thin washer. You'll see they're noticeably different. Thin, thick. And for purposes, we'll just say what they fit. For example, we'll call these a AN4 washer. AN4 washer fits an AN4 bolt. There's ones that go on number 10s, number 8s, number 6s. Just label them like that for now, thick or thin. So, in conclusion, basically, if you notice anything, just flip back to the video. Ask questions, try looking for a reference book. I hope this helps. I'll have AN bolt gauge, this thing, and a few other measuring tools, and we'll get something done. Good luck, guys.